The DGS Construction Company has been operating throughout British Columbia as a construction prime contractor since 1983. The head office is located in Surrey, with projects throughout the Lower Mainland and throughout BC. DGS Construction has safely and efficiently built many buildings since 1983. The types of buildings DGS has built range from recreation complexes and schools to strip malls, the Justice Institute, and car dealerships. Sometimes buildings are built from the ground up, and sometimes they are destroyed, then rebuilt. The hazards on any DGS construction job site are similar to any large construction project. The construction industry has many hazards. However, we expect each person on our job site to plan and minimize injuries and incidents from the hazards. DGS Construction has a legal obligation to coordinate everyone on our job site to ensure the hazards of one contractor do not affect another contractor. We also have an obligation to ensure WorkSafe BC regulations and the WSP Act are followed by everyone. Each contractor employer has the ultimate responsibility for developing their own health and safety program and ensuring their workers are following that program. Contractors are also required to follow DGS rules and requirements, despite what an employer has as their own requirements. WorkSafe BC and the WSP Act and the DGS construction policies and rules must be followed as outlined in the signed contract that was provided at the start of each project. This safety orientation video and guide provided to each contractor will provide everyone with a good understanding of what must be followed when on any DGS construction company job site.
Welcome to a DGS construction job site, and welcome to your construction safety orientation.
WorkSafe BC regulations require prime contractors to designate a specific person that is responsible for coordinating the activities of contractors on the job site and ensure safety requirements are being followed. DGS Construction designates this responsibility to the site superintendents, as they have the best handle on what is happening on the job site on an hourly basis. This is the person that you or your company's site safety coordinator should go to if there are any safety issues that need attention. The DGS Construction Site Safety Coordinator name and phone number are available from the emergency numbers board located on the site trailers and site entrances. This is the site-specific safety information section of this orientation. Each DGS construction site has a site safety board located on the site office trailer and at the main entrance gate. Not only does the site safety board contain all the site-specific safety information, but it also includes any safety bulletins that each contractor's safety coordinator needs to review with their crews, so check the board frequently. On the safety board, you will find a site map which contains any gas and high voltage line locations. It shows where the office, first aid facility, and the location of the muster station, which you must go to if you hear the emergency signal. Each site muster station location has been chosen and designated based on having a safe place for workers to gather in the event of an emergency. This sign is posted at the muster station. You must meet here if you hear the evacuation signal and wait for your site safety coordinator to do a head count. All DGS construction sites have blowhorn stations, identified with a bright orange bicycle flag. The procedures for using the blowhorn for emergencies is posted on each station. In the event of an emergency that requires the site to be evacuated, such as in the event of a fire, gas leak, or earthquake, blow the horn by pushing on the top button continuously. Take the horn with you while still sounding the horn so that other workers will hear the emergency signal. In the event of emergencies, the fire department or ambulance will need to get into the job site. Ensure you have looked at the map's main access road and that you do not block that area with vehicles or materials at any time. Fire extinguishers are posted throughout the job site and in the first aid facility trailer. Be aware of where they are. The Site Safety Board also contains the procedures that must be followed in the event of a fire and outlines when to use the emergency horn to evacuate the job site in the event of a fire. All site safety boards contain the site emergency numbers and the location of the nearest hospital. A copy of the nearest hospital map has been included in the orientation guide that each contractor and safety coordinator has been given. Smoking is strictly forbidden on any DGS construction job site. Smoking is only permitted outside the gates. There are no exceptions to this rule. Do not create unsafe conditions or put yourself in an unsafe condition. If you see poor guardrails or other unsafe conditions that need attention, bring that information to the DGS Site Safety Coordinator. DGS Construction also has a safety consultant that visits a site and conducts unplanned safety inspections. Reports are written and many times pictures are taken during the inspections. Copies of inspections are sent to any employer that was not following the requirements of the contract and in respect to health and safety. The safety consultant's name is under the emergency numbers list on the Site Safety Board and in the orientation guide. As per the written contract, disciplinary action in the form of fines, removal from the site, and WCB involvement are used to ensure all employers follow the DGS construction safety requirements. This is the first aid and incident information section of this orientation. During normal working hours, DGS Construction will provide first aid services. The first aid trailer is identified with a sign containing the standard first aid triangle symbol. In the event of an injury, the qualified first aid attendant will provide you with the first aid service they determine is needed until you can see your family doctor. You have the option to accept the first aid services or not. The site first aid attendant's name, level of first aid qualification, and picture is posted on the Site Safety Board and provided in the orientation guide. You can also report unsafe conditions to this person as they are part in keeping the job site safe for everyone. If you are not seriously injured and require first aid services, go to the first aid trailer. If the attendant is not in the trailer, you will see the sign regarding using the radios to call for the first aid attendant. Press the call button in the front of the radio to get a hold of the first aid attendant. Use the side button to respond to the attendant to let them know of the situation. If there is a serious injury, the emergency air horn must be blown. The procedure for blowing the horn 3 short blasts is posted at the emergency horn station, identified with the bright orange bicycle flag throughout the job site and at the office trailer. In the event of a first aid emergency, the first aid attendant may ask you to obtain the crash kit and oxygen. These are located in the first aid trailer under the designated signs. If a first aid attendant asks for the kit or oxygen, grab them and bring them to the attendant. If there is a serious injury or if the first aid attendant asks you to call 911 for an ambulance, use the nearest phone and make sure you give them the correct address, which is located on the emergency horn blast procedures. To the best of your ability, provide details such as what has happened to the worker and what the extent of the injuries may be. The DGS Site Safety Coordinator or First Aid Attendant will designate you or another person to wait by the site access gate to direct any emergency vehicles into the site and to the incident area. It is law that WorkSafe BC is called as soon as possible in the event of a serious injury, structural failure, or there was an incident involving the major release of a hazardous substance. It is the DGS Site Safety Coordinator's discretion when WorkSafe BC must be informed of any incident. If an incident occurs that requires an investigation, it is unlawful to change the accident scene or remove evidence from the scene. Do not disturb the area of any serious accident. It is the DGS Construction Site Safety Coordinator that determines when the area can be disturbed. WorkSafe BC requires all accidents that required medical attention to be investigated as per the regulation requirements. This includes all injuries where a worker went to see a doctor. All contractors are required to perform their own investigations and provide DGS Construction with a written investigation report meeting WorkSafe BC requirements when completed. A copy of the WorkSafe BC investigation form has been included in the Safety Orientation Guide. This is the General Safety Rules section of this orientation. The Site Safety Board contains a safety policy that emphasizes all contractors working together to have a safe workplace and get the project completed. This policy requires all WCB requirements to be followed, and if there is a requirement or regulation that a contractor cannot comply with, that contractor must seek and obtain a variance to that regulation from WCB. Each Office Safety Board contains a folder where the WCB Act and WorkSafe BC regulations are stored. Anyone can reference the copy. Just put it back when you're done. Anyone visiting a DGS job site must first report to the site office. All visitors should know that hard hats, proper footwear, and a high visibility vest is required once passing the entrance gate. If the visitor does not have the safety equipment, DGS can lend the equipment for the first time, but it is expected that all workers and visitors on site have the right equipment. Working alone on site is not permitted. This is to ensure if someone gets hurt, there is someone that can help. Contractors that want to work on weekends or after hours when the DGS first aid attendant is not on site must provide a copy of their first aid attendant's valid certification to the DGS Safety Coordinator. Contractors are not permitted to work without a qualified first aid attendant, and first aid supplies, including a fully stocked Level 1 kit, is required. The maximum number of workers that a Level 1 first aid attendant can oversee is 15. Refusal of unsafe work is every worker's right that is enforced by regulations. Workers cannot be punished in any way for reporting unsafe conditions.
Something like that, but you refuse the work, don't worry about what happens after. Don't worry about any repercussions, because you know what, the repercussions of you getting injured is way worse than you having to look for another job, and it won't even come down to that. No one wants to have a company that's gonna, look badly about trying to force their workers into doing unsafe work, and then the guy refusing it and standing up for himself. I've done it before. I've walked off the site. I'll say, listen, you guys, you can do that. I'm not gonna, and I'm going home. You know what I mean?
Discriminatory or harassing remarks, leering, swearing, unwanted comments, or gestures is prohibited on any DGS construction job site. DGS Construction reserves the right to dismiss anyone from their job site at any time. Materials that can scrape, puncture, or cut workers, such as rebar, are required to be at least capped with mushroom caps. Protrusions, such as conduit coming through a floor slab, must be protected and visually marked by the contractor. Contractors that use cranes or other means to move equipment or materials above must ensure no one is below the load. Crane base areas require guarding to prevent workers from entering the swinging turret area. Signs must be posted if working overhead of workers. Red "Do not enter" tape with signage can be used where workers must not enter due to falling debris or other overhead hazards. On all DGS construction sites, yellow caution tape means you can enter the area after assessing the hazard and checking with workers in the area. Red danger tape means you cannot enter the area at all until the tape is removed. Contractors that use yellow and red tape must remove the tape when finished and the hazard is eliminated. Correct size ladders must be made available to access decks, floors, and rooftops.
Straight or extension ladders must be placed at the proper angle using the 4-to-1 rule. This means that the foot of the ladder should extend 1 foot out from the wall for every 4 feet up, and that the top of the ladder must extend 3 feet above the structure. Your extension ladder has to have the right amount of overlap. An extension ladder up to 36 feet needs a 3-foot overlap. A 36 to 48-foot extension ladder needs an overlap of 4 feet. An extension ladder over 48 feet needs a 5-foot overlap. An extension ladder is intended primarily as a means of access, not as a work platform.
Aluminum ladders without safety feet are not permitted on site. Job-built wooden ladders must be built in accordance with the WCB standard, including the type of lumber required, correct width, and use of filler pieces. All ladders must be secured at least at the top. It is good practice to secure the ladders at the bottom also, to prevent sliding. Position ladders so they won't sway and at the correct slope ratio of 4 vertical to 1 horizontal. If working on ladders above rebar, ensure the rebar is covered with lumber, or there could be serious injury. DGS Construction will provide ladder and stair access. If you notice ladders not secured, fix it or inform the site safety coordinator. Step ladders must be in good condition and used in accordance with the applicable standard. Do not work off the top or second from the top step of a step ladder. We are now at the personal protection equipment section of this orientation video. DGS Construction has specific requirements for personal protective equipment. Let's start with the clothing requirements. Pants and a t-shirt with a 4-inch sleeve are the minimum requirements. Coveralls are acceptable. Tank tops, no shirt, or shorts are not permitted. You will be sent off site if you cannot comply with this basic requirement. Hard hats meeting CSA or ANSI standards are a must. Use do-rags or cooling headbands in hot weather to help with the heat stress. Workers that are not exposed to overhead or side impact hazards to the head that want to remove their hard hats due to heat stress must first ask permission from the DGS Site Safety Coordinator. Work breaks must be taken in areas where there are no side or overhead impact hazards to the head. Inspecting your hard hat should be part of your company's personal protective equipment regular inspection protocol. Look for defects on a regular basis and get a new hard hat when needed. Footwear must meet CSA or ANSI standards and are required at all times on the job site. They are required to cover the ankle to provide ankle support. If your job tasks require a lower cut shoe with flat soles, this is permitted. However, they must meet CSA or ANSI standards and be worn only in areas where there is no hazard of uneven terrain, floors, or decks. Look for the green CSA triangle. This means it meets compliance. Footwear that does not provide ankle support or have the toe caps covered are prohibited. DGS Construction does not require eye protection to be worn at all times on our job sites. However, eye protection must be worn when needed. Using skill saws, performing overhead work, or any other work where the eyes can be injured requires eye protection. Face shields are required anytime a worker uses cut-off saws or portable grinders. This protects both the face and the eyes from the possibility of a shattered disc, wheel, and sparks. High visibility vests are required to be worn by anyone entering the job site. This helps operators of trucks, lifts, excavators, and other heavy equipment to see you. Make sure you let all equipment operators know where you are and get the okay from them prior to moving near them. If wearing rain gear, make sure your high visibility vest is worn on the outside of your rain gear. Hearing protection is required to be worn by anyone exposed to noise levels of 85 decibels or greater. 85 decibels is about as loud as a gas-powered lawnmower. Employers are required to provide decidamps or other hearing protection to workers. Employers are responsible for training their workers on how to correctly fit and wear hearing protection. Employers that have workers that are exposed to respirable hazards, such as silica in concrete dust or other materials containing hazardous materials, are required to have a respirable protection program. The program must include instructions and training on respirator limitations, how to don a respirator, how to perform fit checks, and how to fit test. This must be conducted by a qualified person using smoke tubes or banana oil. Contractors must keep records of fit testing and training, as DGS Construction may ask for these records if there is an indication of lack of training. We are now at the fall protection section of this orientation video. Working at heights is an inherent part of working in the construction industry. Falls in the construction industry are the #1 construction work-related injury. The hazard of falling and injuring yourself is constant. However, with proper training and planning, injuries will be avoided. This worker fell 30 feet onto pavement while leaning over a roof edge to install some gutter fasteners. The objective of planning and using fall protection systems is to get the task done while not injuring yourself. Fall protection will be used on all DGS construction job sites, regardless of what trade or experience the workers have. It is not enough to just wear the harness. The anchored systems must be planned and instructions given to workers by their supervisors as to when fall protection is needed and what systems will be used.
So to put this into perspective, if you went over the edge and were free falling, gravity will pull you down at an accelerated rate of 9.81 meters for every second that you're going down. That translates to 30 kilometers an hour. So in other words, in the first second that you fall, you're traveling at 30 kilometers an hour, approximately. In the second second, if you continue falling, you're going to be traveling at over 70 kilometers an hour, approximately. And in the third second, if you keep falling, you're going to be traveling at over 100 kilometers an hour. Not only that, but in the first second, you're going to fall approximately 16 feet, depending on the line and other components. But it's approximately 16 feet. So if you think you're going to have time to grab onto something to stop you from falling, you're sadly mistaken.
A body can fall 16 feet in 1 second. That leaves no time to grab something on your way down. That's why each employer, supervisor, and contractor safety coordinator will discuss the fall protection needs with their workers and plan the systems that will be used. The site safety coordinator needs to be involved in the planning process, as they know where all the guardrails will be installed and where the fall hazards are located. Each contractor's employer is responsible for providing training on all fall protection system requirements, including how to wear and adjust equipment properly, how to connect to anchorage, and how to adjust a personal fall protection system to limit free fall. The requirement for fall protection training is a specific WorkSafe BC requirement. DGS Construction will provide perimeter guardrail systems when guardrail systems can be installed. Let's review the guardrail requirements.
The prime contractor has to ensure that handrails are put in place, any place where there's stairs. If you notice any defective or missing handrails, bring it to your supervisor's attention, and he'll bring it to the site safety officer's attention to get fixed.
If guardrail systems cannot be installed due to the task or detail of the job, personal fall restraint must be considered where worker adjusts the rope grab device to limit the distance to the fall hazard area. Temporary anchor systems may be needed for fastening into concrete or into lumber. Planning what fall protection anchorage to use requires each contractor's safety coordinator to discuss the fall hazard locations with the DGS Site Safety Coordinator. The Site Trailer Safety Board contains a hanging folder which holds all contractor fall protection plans. It is DGS policy that each contractor complete and provide the DGS Site Safety Coordinator with a fall protection plan prior to working in a fall hazard area. A sample fall protection plan has been included in the orientation guide for contractors that do not have their own. A fall hazard is the area 13 feet and closer to an edge that is 10 feet or more above grade. Do not come any closer than 13 feet to a fall hazard area. These areas require fall protection.
DGS Construction will erect warning lines at elevated areas that could not temporarily be guarded. The warning lines will be set back at least 6.5 feet, and if you need to get into that area, you're going to need to use personal fall protection equipment. You cannot cross this line without some sort of tie-off.
DGS Construction will guard or cover openings. The covers must be secured and labeled to identify the hole. Horizontal lifeline systems may need to be purchased and installed, which involves more planning between all the site safety coordinators. Planning must include using the right equipment and anchoring above the worker to limit the fall distance should a fall occur. Once again, a documented fall protection plan must be provided to the DGS Site Safety Coordinator for approval prior to any contractor working at heights. This concludes the DGS Construction Company Safety Orientation. Know the hazards of your job and your surrounding work area. Construction sites can be a dangerous place, but with your help and cooperation, they don't have to be. Thank you for watching this video. We hope it was informative. Please complete the orientation sheet and provide it to the DGS Construction representative, and have a safe day.